Let me tell you, the day Cordelia Ashworth Sterling marched down my pier and tried to take my family's history from me, that was the day my life turned into something straight out of a Hollywood thriller. Except nobody yelled cut, and I sure as hell didn't have a stunt double. Private pier access ends today, Mr. Crawford. That eyesore fishing operation violates 17 community standards and maritime safety codes. Surrender your dock keys immediately or face federal trespassing charges. Yeah, she actually said that, before I'd even finished my coffee. I'm standing there, cup frozen halfway to my lips, just watching this woman storm across my stone pier at 6:47 in the morning like she owns the Atlantic. Cordelia's in her yacht club blazer, hair perfect, flanked by two suits with Sterling Maritime Development LLC stamped on their briefcases, both giving off that we bill by the minute energy. And I swear, there's a wireless earpiece in her platinum hair catching the sun like she's on some spy mission. Name's Knox Crawford. 3 months ago, I thought I'd finally caught a break. After 44 years and one brutal divorce, I inherited my grandmother's villa, a piece of 1923 Mediterranean magic with a 200-foot stone pier that reaches out into Heritage Harbor like it's been waiting for me all my life. Classical balustrades, underground chambers, she always called them wine cellars, but I found out real quick there was more to it. That pier, built to handle 500-ton ships. The wine cellars? They've got water-level access points, and honestly, they looked way too sophisticated for just a couple dusty crates of Merlot. So I started an oyster farm. Small operation, honest work, and it kept me out on the water, brought in about 80 grand a year, which is all I needed after the circus my life had been. I had peace, I had purpose, and apparently, I had a target on my back. Because Cordelia wasn't there to chit-chat about my oysters. She was ready for battle. "Ma'am, I think there's been some kind of mistake," I said, setting down my mug and walking toward her. "This is private property. I haven't gotten any notices about violations." Her laugh. God, it could have stripped paint off the hull. Ignorance of community standards isn't a defense. I'm the president of the Heritage Harbor Estates Homeowners Association, and last night we held an emergency meeting regarding your situation. Out comes the iPad with a flourish, displaying violation notices already filled out with my name, all official and shiny. Except it felt wrong. Too slick. Too rehearsed. I wasn't notified about any meeting, and my deed, well, it has very clear exemptions for historical maritime properties. For half a heartbeat, I saw a flicker of doubt cross her face. Not fear, just that tight little look you get when someone realizes their mark actually read the fine print. But then she's all business again, motioning for her goons to block my villa entrance. "Mr. Crawford, historical designations are complex. What matters is community welfare and maritime safety. Your oyster operation presents navigation hazards and environmental concerns. Once we implement the necessary infrastructure modifications to accommodate larger vessels, this entire area will serve the community much more effectively." Larger vessels, she says. That phrase sticks in my head like a bad song. I'm using John boats and a rusty skiff. Who needs deep water and reinforced piers for oysters? And if you think the marina was empty, guess again. But these people, man, they're examining my pier like it's the Rosetta Stone. One snapping photos under the dock. The others measuring everything, blueprints in hand. Emergency vote. Sure. 3 board members. Cordelia, her husband Bradford, and his business partner. That's it. A family power play wrapped in HOA paper. Right then, a boat in the harbor starts lowering underwater scanning equipment. Not for oysters. Not for navigation hazards. No, this is the kind of stuff I used back in my days as a cargo inspector. Structural surveys, not fish counts. I told Cordelia I'd be getting my lawyer. She just smiled that razor smile and told me her husband was a maritime attorney who knew his way around federal waterway regulations. Subtle threat, but it didn't scare me, just made me suspicious. Especially since she kept pausing, like she was getting instructions from her invisible earpiece. That afternoon, I started digging. Turns out, in the last 2 years, 3 other historic properties like mine got scooped up by the HOA. The Moroni estate had a fire right after they refused to sell. The Peton Wharf, for generations of fishing, suddenly shut down for environmental violations that magically appeared after an unsolicited buyout offer. Each one flipped into private clubs for high-value clients. See a pattern? Because I did. manufactured violations, forced sales, all with legal paperwork so shiny you'd think it was real. And if you've ever had someone try to steal your family's legacy, go ahead and hit that like button, because I'm just getting warmed up. Anyway, the next day, surveyors showed up without warning. Not HOA guys. These were pros, hauling sonar gear, mapping out my pier's underwater foundation, measuring load capacity. The kind of analysis you run when you're planning to park something a whole lot heavier than my oyster boat. I called over the survey team leader, a grizzled guy who'd seen some things. What exactly are you measuring here? He glanced at Cordelia, who was watching us from a distance. Ma'am says safety compliance, but off the record, you could handle some serious cargo with this structure. And you've got a network of chambers under here. These aren't natural. Somebody built M for real work. I peeked at his sonar screen. Under my feet, a labyrinth of interconnected chambers, tunnels, ventilation, drainage, even modern wiring. Not just Prohibition-era wine cellars, but a whole infrastructure built for smuggling. My grandmother's stories suddenly had new meaning. Yeppie Maroney, the original owner, was a shipping magnate, and now I realized that probably meant a little more rum running than the family tree let on. But why would anyone want this in 2024? The answer hit me like a ton of bricks. Those tunnels were perfect for hiding and moving contraband, deep water, secret storage, multiple escape routes, and a legitimate cover. Cordelia's talk of infrastructure upgrades made sense. She was prepping my pier for something way bigger than a yacht party. This was organized crime, not a neighborly spat. I started researching Sterling Maritime. They owned a dozen properties just like mine. All historic, all with deep water and underground infrastructure, all acquired after emergencies or environmental violations. Their revenue? Not from yacht clubs, but private events and consulting for clients who wanted privacy and could pay for it. That night, boats with no lights appeared offshore. Night vision gear, underwater drones. These weren't your average yacht clubbers. They mapped the underwater approaches and took photos of my villa. Surveillance, not harassment. I knew then this went way beyond Cordelia. Next morning, I called Harbor Master Billy Torrance, a 30-year law enforcement vet who looked like he hadn't been surprised since the Reagan administration. Over coffee, he laid it out. Knox, this isn't just an HOA gone bad. Cordelia's been asking questions about deep water, patrol schedules, federal jurisdiction. The kind of stuff you ask if you're planning things you don't want law enforcement to see. He showed me a file. Sterling Maritime's properties were perfectly placed along known smuggling routes. The vessels coming in at night, the fake environmental inspectors. This was coordinated, well-funded, and professional. What do I do, Billy? You don't fight this alone. My son Mason works for an agency that deals with this kind of thing. That afternoon, Mason arrived. Now, Mason's my boy, but he's also Coast Guard Investigative Service. Turns out, he's been investigating Sterling Maritime for months. We went over every document Cordelia brought. Dad, these aren't just fakes. They're federal-level forgeries. Someone with inside knowledge is behind this. We explored the tunnels together, finding fresh concrete, new electrical work, upgrades that had nothing to do with history and everything to do with high-volume, high-security trafficking. The tunnels even connected to underwater caves, perfect for submarines. My property, he told me, was the crown jewel in a smuggling network moving hundreds of millions in cocaine. So what do you do when your family's history is at the center of an international crime ring? You let the professionals set a trap. Mason coordinated a sting with federal agents hiding in plain sight. Marina workers, fishermen, you name it. When Cordelia rolled up the next morning with her entourage, fake feds, private security, even real law enforcement on the take, Mason stepped out, badge in hand, voice steady as a rock. Special Agent Mason Crawford, Coast Guard Investigative Service. You're all under arrest. Cordelia's face went white. All those years intimidating folks, gone in a heartbeat. Federal agents swooped in, Coast Guard vessels blocked escape. The whole Sterling Maritime Board was nabbed across 3 states. Cordelia? 12 years federal, reduced for testifying against her cartel partners. The villa? Protected forever as a federal heritage site. And the ripple effects? 50 other properties up and down the coast, saved from criminal takeover. Heritage Harbor went from almost being a cartel hub to a model of federal and community cooperation. Property values jumped, oyster farming got a boost, and I even took up the job of harbor master, just like my grandmother would have wanted. 6 months later, I get a letter, no return address, but the words sting. Your family's resistance cost us $50 million. Respect. That's cartel speak for you won this round. But you know what? That's the thing about American families and our weird, stubborn sense of justice. You can outspend us, outlawyer us, but if you come after what matters, we'll make you regret it. So, here's my question for you. What would you do if a criminal network used fake federal documents to steal your family's land? Would you fight back? Would you call for help? Or would you just hope it all blows over? Drop your answer below and tell me, do you think justice was really served? And hey, if you've got your own story about HOA nightmares or criminal property scams, I want to hear it. Because sometimes, the only thing standing between a cartel and your home is one stubborn family and a good cup of coffee on a stone pier at sunrise.